Jon Anik and Kenny Florian podcast. Jon Anik and Kenny Florian.
I f***ing love them. I can't get enough of them.
Let's hear that Boston next.
Big jab there from Duffy, and Frank Mir is hurt now. Down goes Duffy, oh, Frank Mir does it again. Rock'em sock'em robots here. Oh my goodness. Hyperbole.
There are a couple of absolutely self-involved bullshit artists.
Here are your hosts, Jon Anik and Kenny Florian.
Next shot, bang.
528 of these things. Good to have everybody with us live on a Monday, December 16th. The year is 2024. It is, in fact, episode 528 of the Anik and Florian podcast. And for a guy like me, Ken Florian, it's great to see you, by the way. They're live in Charlotte, North Carolina. Gated community, though, pistol on the hip. Don't think anything. For guys like me, Kenny, and I know you're a couple hours from Chapel Hill, North Carolina, North Carolina. But guys like me who love Bill Belichick to such an extent, I'd rather have dinner with him than you. So I am wearing a Bill Belichick Foundation t-shirt. And it just goes to show you, and it's a great cause, but the lengths that I will go to support this man. And now I don't have to buy Bill Belichick Foundation merchandise anymore because we can rock that Carolina blue. If you don't know, Bill Belichick, now the head coach of the North Carolina football Tar Heels. So
let's go, John. I love it, dude. I love it. I remember when I saw the news that there were rumors about him going over to UNC Chapel Hill. I got a little excited, and the fact that he's over there, man, is going to be awesome for the program. And Bill's the man, dude. I mean, you talk about work ethic, a dude who literally lives, eats, and breathes football. That's the kind of guy you want to hire, right? Pretty cool.
Well, if you like Ken Flo's t-shirt better than mine, Anik and Florian, select your fighter. You can get that at jonanik.com. We got a promo code for jonanik.com.
Yeah, 2025.
2025 is the promo code for 15% off. We got Boston Anik in the building. We're live here on YouTube. Thank you, everybody, joining us. A lot to get into, an outstanding UFC fight night to recap. And some other things that we want to get to as well. Some details on our award show, which is coming up on December 30th. Oftentimes we do that in January. We're going to do it this year with some tweaks. It'll be a little bit condensed, a little bit more concise, and trying to think about awards to send to these fighters. Maybe just a t-shirt with Ken Flo's face on it. It says Ken Flo's Fighter of the Year. But a lot to get into. I thought the fight night was fantastic. Ray Longo's coming up here. Bottom of the hour. We'll see the condition in which Ray joins us here at about 11:30 a.m. Eastern. And then on the backside, we got some fun stuff for Ken Flo. 3 fighters. He's got to fight with one, party with one, commentate with one. Also, some would you rather questions from Ken Flo for Ken Flo, courtesy of Men's Health. And I might even get to, time permitting, I say a country, and you have to say the first fighter that comes to mind. And I'm putting that on the back of your brainstem because that might take a little bit of thought. All right, we begin with this UFC Fight Night recap. As always, headlines brought to you by Cuervo. Now's a good time to enjoy the tequila that invented tequila. Ken Flo, UFC Fight Night, Covington versus Buckley.
Headlines.
Whoa! So I don't get my Cuervo music live, and then I get some wayward stinger. No, I'll take the whole fucking headlines thing. I'll take whatever you want to give me, but we're live. So if you want to give me neither, that's fine. There it is.
Aha.
Headlines brought to you by Cuervo. Now's a good time to enjoy the tequila that invented tequila. So Twin Bro and I were a little bit surprised with you and Brian Petrie picking Colby Covington as underdog last weekend. I guess that's neither here nor there, but it is Joaquin Buckley. New Mansa, not New Mansa, New Mansa, Joaquin Buckley. The TKO comes via the doctor stoppage, Ken Flo, at the 442 mark of the round 3. There's a new welterweight contender. If you didn't fancy him as such going into the weekend, it is New Mansa, Joaquin Buckley. Your thoughts?
Yeah, listen, I think a lot of it has to do with the value, right? I think that the value of Colby Covington, I think, was interesting. Who did I think was probably going to win? Probably New Mansa. I mean,
fair.
His momentum heading into this, obviously a fresher fighter, certainly, and a guy who is maturing in the octagon and getting better. And I think we certainly saw that. While we did see some good moments for Colby Covington when he was able to get on top of Buckley, Really, this was Buckley's fight, pretty much start to finish. I think he was really effective, largely with his takedown defense, and with his ability to land the better strikes. Unfortunate that it did end because of doctor stoppage, but it was funny because even Buckley looked very disappointed right after the fight. He wanted to keep on going. He wanted his own hands to deliver the win for him, and unfortunately, we had a stoppage there. Colby had some moments there, but again, I definitely saw a lack of development when it came to the striking, whether that was directly related to, the cut over the eye or not. It seemed like he had some vision problems is what he was stating. But even before that, he's taking some shots from a little too far out and was getting outstruck by Buckley.
So I have a number of different things in my notes that I just want to get your thoughts on. So I'll be quick and sort of, you can give us as much or as little as you want. So Colby Covington's toughness, his desire to be in there, right? Even though he has had bouts of inactivity throughout his career, he has never gone a calendar year without competing at least once. And even though this fight wasn't preceded by a training camp, you never know exactly what he is doing. Kenflo, there is no denying his desire to be in there, his toughness in fight. Yeah. And I'm not saying his desire to be in there 3 times a year, but his not looking for a way out when the going gets tough. What do you have for us on Covington in defeat, just staying in there and toughing it out through a very difficult placement with that cut?
Well, I figured he was going to encounter some of those very difficult spots, but I also knew that he was going to be able to push through a lot of those spots. We have seen Colby Covington hurt many times before, and he always has a response for adversity. And that was the case here again. He is as tough and as conditioned as any UFC fighter out there. No question about it. This is a dude who is willing to die inside the octagon. And, believing him that he wasn't able to see out there, seeing that he was hurt a few times during this fight, seeing that he wasn't having a whole lot of success, but we've seen many guys who will retreat, who will stop pressing forward. That was not the case for Colby. He kept moving forward, kept looking for a way to win, and unfortunately, the doctor stopped all of that.
I promise you we'll spend more time on Joaquin Buckley than Colby Covington. But in terms of Covington, I think there was some video sort of leaning into the lack of training camp, and we will have some Covington sound here coming up in a little bit on the cut and how that compromised him. But Colby Covington seemingly is the type of athlete who is always in shape and ready to take a relatively short notice fight if it's a high profile fight, which it always will be involving him. And if it's a matchup that he thinks is favorable to whatever degree. Now, maybe he doesn't want to sort of sit here on a Monday on the backside of a loss to Ian Machado Gary, but a loss to Joaquin Buckley is somehow easier to digest, right? But you go out there and you compete and you think you're going to win the fight. Otherwise, you don't take the fight. I'm a little bit surprised to see Covington sort of lean into that on the backside, right? He hadn't competed all year. What are you doing, right? I know there was maybe a deflection from MMA Masters. I don't know exactly who he is training with. I didn't know who was cornering him on this night. But I don't know, Kenny. It would seem to me like if you're going to take on somebody like Joaquin Buckley, you can't on the backside say, hey, man, I wish I had had a training camp on the front end.
No, absolutely. I mean, Buckley's a threat, man. But Buckley is not the same dude from a few years ago. He has retained that danger level with his power and physicality for sure. But again, this is a guy who is maturing and improving as a martial artist. And for Colby to go in there and maybe have a half-assed training camp, it never a smart thing, because this was still an excellent opportunity for him. As much as maybe people complain about seeing Colby in a lot of these opportunities, he's still a guy that people either want to see fight because they want to see him lose or they want to see him win. But either way, he had an opportunity here in a win over Buckley to get back into that title picture. And there is no UFC fighter in the welterweight division really that you can take lightly. And unfortunately for Colby, he probably paid for that decision. So you have to take every single training camp very seriously, especially against one.
Joaquin Buckley, one of the best fighters of this year, 2024. I think he went 4-0 if I'm not mistaken. But this word hunger, it comes up periodically in our fighter meetings, most recently with Vicente Luque before he fought Themba Gorimbo. And you saw how devastated Themba Gorimbo was to lose that fight to Vicente Luque, because it feels like a couple years worth of work sort of goes by the wayside. And Luque talked about hunger, and he likes to fight the guy who is hungry. so he can prove to the world that his hunger for MMA Golden Glory and UFC Golden Glory is still insatiable. And Joaquin Buckley is training 28. What is it? Beastin 25-8. He's training 24/7, 365 to fight either the long and lanky striker, Ian Machado Gary, or the wrestler, Colby Covington, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the commitment right now for Joaquin Buckley is unquestioned, right? We talked about Aaron Blanchfield recently and Rose Namajunas when the going got tough late, right? Aaron Blanchfield doesn't care about anything else in the world except being a UFC champion. And it would seem like even though financial freedom is inexorably linked to that, Joaquin Buckley, Kenny, all he cares about right now is being the UFC champion. And I think it was reflected in this performance.
100%. And I think, I talk about this all the time with people who come into the gym who want to start training. And if the first thing they ask is, hey, how long will it take me to become a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt? I know that they don't want it. They don't want it. They don't want to be there.
Right.
You have to love the process of fighting. You have to love the process of wanting to be better for that ultimate goal of being a champion in this sport. If you're coming in to be famous, if you're coming in to get money, that is not going to be enough. I'm not going to judge you for it. That's fine.
Yeah.
But you got to be in this to win this. This sport is just way too hard.
So I am wrong a lot, right? Certainly when it comes to the NFL and forecasting a quarterback like Jamarcus Russell back in the day to the Raiders, I was very wrong, right? But a lot of my contemporaries in the broadcast booth or otherwise haven't necessarily been chips in the middle of the table on Joaquin Buckley. And I sort of have been, right? I have looked at this plus athlete. I have looked at this guy as I think the biggest power threat in this division and just refining his mental and his overall maturation, closing up his inner circle, moving home, procreating, all of these things. But I'm not Kenny Florian. You are a mastermind. You 3 times fought for the UFC title. Based upon what you have seen this year and based upon what you saw against Colby Covington in whatever fucking form, what do you think is the ceiling for Joaquin Buckley, and how do you handicap him against the champ Belal Muhammad and everybody else, Ken Flo?
Yeah, listen, I think that Buckley would struggle off of his back against someone like Belal. I think Belal has the ability to get in on those legs and put him on his back. I think Buckley is most certainly the more potent striker. No question about that. He definitely has way more pop in his punches than pretty much every welterweight, or many of them anyway. So I think he would have to keep this fight on the feet, have to find a way to force Belal to trade with him repeatedly, most likely in the center of the octagon. He needs to stay away from that cage. So Belal is very good when he gets on top with his control. Maybe not the best submissions or anything like that, but I think Belal would find a way to try to look for a TKO in that fight. So if Buckley's able to improve his grappling skills, I would give him a much better shot. But as of right now, I would definitely have Belal as the favorite, just based on his experience and the way he matches up against someone like Buckley.
So forget Belal for a second. Just overall, in terms of that upper tier at 170 pounds, right?
Yep.
How do you think he matches up with like Ian Machado Gary, the guy he was scheduled to fight, Shavkat Rakhmonov? Are these winnable fights for Joaquin Buckley? I mean, the theoretical is that he's going to get better, to your point, and not get worse. So.
Yeah, I think that I think that he matches up really well against someone like Ian Gary, who most likely will not try to take him down. Styles make fights, of course, and against someone like Rakhmonov, who does have good takedowns, he may struggle against someone like Rakhmonov, who is not only a good takedown artist, but also very big for the division. But again, this is a guy who, if he lands on you, he can knock out any of those guys in that top 3. There's no question about that. His physicality, his power, his speed. And now I think his composure in there makes him a legitimate threat to all those guys who are elite in that division.
I mean, you think Kamaru Usman wants that fight? With respect to my dear friend, you think Usman's signing on the dotted line for that fight? I'm not saying that he's scared of that fight by any stretch, but is that a fight that he is, calling Hunter Campbell and trying to pursue? I don't know. Shavkat Rakhmonov's number 2 in the world. Leon Edwards is number 1. I've said repeatedly, if I had to send one fighter in there, one welterweight in there to beat Belal Muhammad, I still think Leon Edwards would be the guy. Got Jack Della Maddalena and Sean Brady there, 4 and 5. It's an embarrassment of riches. Usman is 3. Very interesting times for new Mansa Joaquin Buckley. Maybe he fights Gilbert Durinho Burns, but Buckley's going to be, top 5, top 6. And I'm excited to see the progression. I really feel good for him too, because he's done a lot of things the right way. There have been wayward missteps here or there. The Conor McGregor call out comes to mind, but got to feel good for the guy, right? He's done a lot of things the right way. He stepped up and fought guys like Nursultan Ruzaboyev and guys that make it difficult to look good against. I feel pretty good for Numansa, you know?
He looks like a different fighter, and I do think he's been putting in the work, and you could see that. Yeah, I'm excited to see how he progresses in this division.
All right, let's get to the co-main event if we could. Cub Swanson and Billy Quarantillo in the fight of the night. It goes to Killer Cub with the knockout round 3, 136 mark, Ken Flo. And yeah, bonus for Swanson. He's 41 years of age. He was the plus 145 underdog here. There's a lot to unpack in terms of Billy Q's toughness and the damage sustained here for him in his native Tampa. What do you have for us on the co-main event, Ken Flo?
Well, I was excited for this fight just because both of these guys are so offensively minded, may not have a whole lot of insane defense, but this is what made this fight so fun to watch. Both these guys love to pursue the finish. Cub Swanson physically looked the best that I've seen him in a very long time. We were really able to see, and even though he's at the kind of end of his career, right? But we were really able to see his speed and power that he possesses, his footwork, all of that looked really good in this fight. So it seemed like he was healthy heading into this one, which is always a good sign, but he was landing some huge shots on Billy Q. Billy Q was able to kind of fire back and had some great moments with his takedowns, landed some good shots in his own right as he was pressing forward. But really the countering skills of Cub, the speed was certainly the difference in this one. And at the end, that was one of the prettiest knockouts I've seen, man. Amazing knockout, one of the best of the year for sure.
Just amazing to see Cub Swanson getting it done at this stage of his career. And I just think his kids are a massive, massive motivator, right? To try to put on and be able to sort of walk back into your home after that type of result. And of course, thrill on one side, agony on the other for Billy Q, Ken Flo. And I don't know show money versus win money. Of course, Billy Quarantillo got the bonus here, and rightfully so. But I say this with all due respect to a friend of the program and a really good guy and a really good fighter. He doesn't fight like he's fighting for his win money. He fights at times like he's trying to put on a show, and maybe strategy and fight IQ doesn't necessarily lead the dance. And I'm not saying that he is some, otherworldly grappler or back taker, or he should have pursued some sort of pedestrian style against Cub Swanson. But, Billy Q has paid the price more than once for trying to entertain. And, I don't think it's a question of job retention, but, it's got to be a tough Monday morning, I would think, for Team Quarantillo.
Definitely. I mean, he puts so much into each and every fight. And in order to do that, you have to be putting a lot into your fight camps as well. And it was nice to see Billy Q take this time off a little bit and not stay so active. I think that's way better from a health perspective. But if I'm being honest, this was concerning for me, seeing this result yet again, because even in the fights where Billy Q wins, he takes a lot of damage. And Billy Q is such a good dude. And I think there's other things that he can do as well. One of the most dangerous places for a fighter is when you are so tough and so determined that you are going to stay in the fight no matter what. And if you're eating a lot of punches, I think that those are the kind of fighters that are going to take the most amount of damage, and we'll see kind of those results in the future. So if I'm being honest, I'm a little concerned for Billy Q, who's a great dude. And I don't want to see a tough guy like that take that kind of damage, because that's kind of what's in store for him if this continues, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's well put. He's one of my favorite people in the sport. Our great producer Cody Merrow tells us here in the chat he opened a gym recently in Tampa, purchased the Gracie Pack MMA gym from a friend. That's 5040 West Linebaugh or Linebaugh Avenue in Tampa, the zip code 33624 if you want to go train with Billy Q. But it does beg the question, right, about the damage. And if people in his inner circle, right, start to raise some questions and some inconvenient truths, right, just about what his fighting style has resulted in. Because, yeah, that's some real concussive damage sustained. at the heavy-handed and fast-handed Cub Swanson there by Billy Q. So, yeah, we'll see what happens with Cub, right? It seemed like maybe there might be some, marital pressure or a little push there to retire, but,
yeah,
right, I don't know that he's looking for some great finishing note like that. I mean, yes, that's the picture-perfect finishing note. Oftentimes we harken back to Chris Lytle and how great his retirement fight was, and I actually think it was a decision win, or maybe he did win by knockout. Do you remember when Chris Lytle won his fight? It was a great retirement fight for Chris Lytle. I think it was in his native Indianapolis, if I'm not mistaken. Either way, it was a great way to go out. Maybe it was in fucking Vegas. My memory's not great, right? But yeah, this would be the perfect capstone or finishing note for Cub Swanson, but he's competitive. So makes a lot of money, right? Make a lot of money.
He's exciting to watch too. I mean, if you're the UFC, you'd love to have Cub in those fights, and he proved it with yet another amazing performance in a fight that was really, really fun.
All right, we're going to get to Manel Kape here. Kenny, Cody, you can feel free to back me up with that nugget on Chris Lights Out Lytle. Dude, Manel Kape and Bruno Silva, man. I mean, what else is on television, folks, when that is going on that could possibly be as captivating as that? Am I sounding hyperbolic? Am I overstating it? I know I got mad love for the flyweights and always have. But, bro, the speed, the showboating even from Manel. I mean, yeah, his conversation with Dana White went a little bit long. But, dude, Manel Kape, man, coming to a title fight potentially near you soon. What'd you make of these feature bout here involving the Fly Guys?
This was actually my favorite fight of the night. And the reason for that is just the technique displayed by both guys, really, but especially by Manel Kape, who had his flashes of brilliance where he looks like he's like top 3 strikers in the UFC when he's putting together combinations, and his ability to recognize what you're doing and to slip and rip like he was out there against Silva was a thing of beauty. Okay. Because this is the 125-pound division where everybody is fast. There's not a whole lot of slow guys in that division. And Silva was very fast, but Manel Kape just another gear or two faster. I mean, just brilliant stuff from him. It's so comfortable in the pocket of how he lures you in and then makes you pay, and with a variety of strikes as well. That's the thing. It's not like he's just a good boxer or just a good kicker. He can attack every part of your body and do so with potency and ferocity. I loved that fight, dude.
Takes two. Anything for us on Bruno Silva there in defeat? Yeah. What an absolute warrior in his own right. Yeah.
Very, very tough, man. And I think he had some success with his kicking game. He started attacking the body of Manel Kape with his kicking game. And he tried hard. This is another guy who really tried to stay in there. But it was Manel Kape with those body shots that ultimately was going to get him the win. But yeah, I mean, he's extremely tough. And it's not like he didn't try to take the fight to the ground, which would have served him best. He did his best.
Right.
But Manel Kape was on point with his ability to level change, sprawl, and keep those shots from afar. So just brilliant stuff, man. Manel Kape, when he's on his game, boy, he looks like a world champion. So excited to see what his next opportunity is going to be. I imagine it's probably going to be Kai Kara-France next for Pantoja. But Manel Kape, I think, is a great option after that.
Back to Starboy Kape in a second, but looking up here, Chris Lytle on my phone, Kenny, it was a guillotine of Dan Hardy in a main event, August of 2011 in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. So in the Midwest, submission of the night and fight of the night. So best possible finishing note for Chris Lytle. We'll see what Cub Swanson chooses to do. But yeah, so Manel Kape and Kai Kara-France obviously have a history, Kenny. They don't like each other. They were scheduled to fight. Kai Kara-France suffered a concussion in training. Pantoja needs time off. He also needs an opponent. So you think it'll be Kai Kara-France? I mean, yeah, I guess you don't pluck off one of those two by having Kai Kara-France and Manel Kape fight. They're both worthy right now. I mean, you could actually do worse than having one of those guys sit, right, and just sort of plan the next year for Pantoja. What are you doing at flyweight if you're a promoter?
Okay, so I'm stealing this from someone on Twitter. I wish I could look up their name and find out who it was, but they suggested Brandon Moreno and Manel Kape. I think that fight would be absolute fire. Two guys that are at the top of their game right now. To see Moreno and how he bounced back after his last fight, I think that would be absolute fireworks. Moreno and Kape fight the winner of Kai Kara France and Pantoja. I think that makes a lot of sense.
So in terms of Kai Kara France versus Manel Kape, right? I feel like straight meritocracy. Kai Kara France had that close loss to Amir Albazi, had a big knockout his last time out. He's the higher ranked guy. I think straight meritocracy, Kai Kara France gets the championship opportunity right now. And not only does he have history with Pantoja, but he also has, I think, this region behind him that I think moves some financial metrics, right?
Yes.
I don't know how much money like Manel Kape makes the UFC versus Kai Kara France as champion, or Jack Della Maddalena versus Shavkat Rakhmonov as champion, right? I think it stands to reason that Jack Della Maddalena makes a lot of money for them as a champion because he has that entire region behind them, right? But if I have Manel Kape as a promoter, I am not having him face Brandon Moreno. I am waiting, and I am putting that man in a championship fight because well, you know, guys like me, I mean, I'm just an MMA fan, Kenny, but I'm just watching in astonishment at what I'm seeing this past weekend.
Right. And, well, and not only that, if Moreno was to win, then okay, now you're back in the exact same spot you were before, right? So yeah, I understand that for sure.
Yeah. So I call Pantoja and I say, my man, your dad's proud of you now, you can be sure. When would you like to fight? And you hope he says soon. And then you say, how about Kai? And then if Kai wins, you know, you have the tremendous backdrop already established for you with Kai Kara France and Manel Kape, and there you go. You know,
and if I'm Pantoja, I'm like, Jon, man, why the fuck are you calling me, man? I'm going to hang up right now.
Right. Right. Yeah.
Take it easy.
Yeah. Hey, Cannibal, before you hang up, hey, you didn't shave your head because you're planning on going to Turkey for that hair transplant, are you? I'm going to start booking guests on the show who have had the hair transplant in Turkey. And I'm going to ask them what is their relative level of satisfaction, right? Like, do you think if you had Nixick on here, he would say 10 out of 10, or he would give you a real answer like 8.5, right?
I don't know, but we should compile that information for a friend. Not me, of course, but just to have. Yeah.
All right. Hey, I'm going to need Cody. You need to book Modestus Bukowskis once his hair grows in, and Jason House and everybody else. Ray Longo knows better than to get his hair treated in Turkey. Let us get to the star of the program and the Ray Longo Minute.
It's now time for the Ray Longo Minute.
I want you to punch a hole in this fucking chest. That's what I want.
The Ray Longo Minute. Starring Ray Longo. The Jon Anik and Kenny Florian podcast.
I mean, not even trying to get attention, you say to Chris Weidman, I want you to punch a hole in his fucking chest. Maybe the greatest in-corner, in-fight utterance in UFC history.
Thank you. But I like your idea about getting all the hair transplant.
You like that? That's fucking hysterical. Isn't that funny? Yeah. Hey, you're not going, are you?
It's like somebody's really telling them how bad or good it looks. Oh, yeah, it looks great. And they fucking walk away and start smirking. Let's line them all up, and then we zoom in on the top of their heads. Yeah, that's nice. What a nice guy this guy is. Holy crow.
Oh my god.
This is amazing. Amazing.
Oh gosh.
You and I are aligned. I mean, are you drinking out of a mug with your own face on it there? The Ray Longo. Put it in front of the camera, not away from it. There you go. In front of the camera. Look at that.
Oh shit.
Virtually identical.
Right around Christmas time, guys, you might want to drink your beverage out of a nice, tasty mug like this.
And you can go to jonanik.com right now, promo code 2025 to get your own Ray Longo Minute mug. Can we stay on the hair transplant thing for a second, guys?
Yeah, sure.
I mean, you know, people are probably looking at all our hairlines right now as we have this conversation. I mean, Ray, you know, you look like you have a full head of hair, but, you know, maybe there's some recession going on, right? 100%. But you don't have wheels up itinerary to Turkey, right?
No.
I shave my head. I got real issues, right? I discuss men's hair. I got a full head. Big Ron's probably sitting somewhere in Vegas. Like, dude, you got to stop, you know, as he looks at his itinerary to Turkey right in front of him. So Yes. How many guys, Ray and Kenny, we'll ask you this since Ray and I are aligned, would we have on the program who would be like, dude, this is the greatest decision I ever made? Or would they say, yeah, man, I don't know. Like, my wife thinks I look terrible.
Yeah. I don't know. I haven't seen like up close what it looks like myself, but listen, if it makes you feel better and it gives you a little more confidence and it gets your wife into bed a little more often than not, hey, why not?
Yeah, that's the key. That's all that should matter.
Yeah. Why not?
So I'm thinking about getting a nose job then. What do you think about that? What do you think about that?
I might need one because I keep snorting. So that might be something I have to look into.
Yeah. Right. That was really
deviated septum ain't going good for me, I'll tell you.
Yeah, that was a perfect Ken Flo, didn't you have that deviated septum procedure?
I did.
Or no?
I did. I can now breathe much better, actually.
It's really fun. I've heard it's really non-invasive, right? In and out, no pain, right? It's brutal, isn't it?
It sucks. It sucks.
So, right. But no, I mean, a nose job is an elective procedure, right? I mean, yeah, it's probably more invasive and more painful than, but yeah, that would give me more confidence, right? Like I started shaving my head at 14 for confidence. So, maybe I'll get a fucking nose job, instead of a hair transplant, All right. I'm not even kidding. We got a lot of things to get into.
No wonder, Kenny, the insurance doesn't pay for elective surgeries. This guy's just joking about, maybe I'll just get a nose job and then go to Turkey, get some hair plugs. And
I'm going to get some pec implants. So
get my ears lowered.
Yeah. All right. We have a lot to get into from this UFC fight night, and then anything else that you have, Ray, on the back end. I am going to hit you with one hard-hitting Chris Weidman question on the way out, so that'll just give you time to marinate on that. So,
oh, sorry about that.
No, you're good. Happy holidays. Joaquin Buckley, man.
Ooh,
what do you think about Joaquin Buckley? What do you think his relative ceiling is in this welterweight division, and to what extent were you impressed with what he did against Colby Covington over the weekend?
I like his ceiling. I like he's on a tear. I'm not Colby got cut early in that fight. I'm not sure we saw. I think that really impacted the fight a lot, but I don't know. I think Covington being out so long, I mean he looks like he's still got the dog in him. And Buckley, that was like a nice test for Buckley against an ex-champion. So I think they're doing the right thing with him. He did great with Wonder Boy. Now he did great with Covington. So yeah, he's putting himself in the right spot. I thought there was a couple of times on the floor he didn't look like he was that comfortable. I think that might be a problem in the future, depending on who he fights. But I think his ceiling is whatever he wants his ceiling to be. He's right where he wants to be.
Kenny, we just, sorry to interrupt, Kenny. I know that's my fault. We have the audio of Colby Covington talking about the cut. I just want to get that out there if we could. Here's what Colby had to say about that cut on his eyelid that obviously factored prominently in the equation Saturday night.
When the cut happened, what happened? Yeah, so, we came in, in close contact, and I felt like there was a headbutt, and as soon as it cut in the first round, I couldn't see. I had blurred vision. I was seeing three different people. I was like, fuck, which one do I punch? I didn't know what to do. I was kind of confused, but, I knew I had to keep fighting. I had to give the UFC and the fans a show, and that's what they pay their hard-earned money to come for. I'm a warrior. We're gladiators, so I'm not going to stop. I've had way worse in fights than a little cut over my eye, so it's unfortunate that the doctor stopped the fight like that, because if we're in Vegas, I know the fight gets to keep going, and I feel like I was really just starting to gain momentum. Like I was starting to wear him. I could see he was breathing out of his mouth. He wasn't as much volume at that point, so I feel like it was going to be my fight in the championship round. So it was an unfortunate stop, and I feel like the judges kind of, not the judges, but the doctor is the one that beat me tonight. I didn't feel like I lost to another opponent.
All right, so there you have it, Ken Flo and Ray from Colby Covington. I mean, somebody cut him. Yeah, maybe it was the glove, but it was a Joaquin Buckley strike that cut him open.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, look, man, he's parakeeting what Dana said about Vegas. I mean, we don't really know that for sure. I'm not really sure what that cut. She said, the doctor said she was afraid he was going to lose his eyelid. I don't know if that's true, but I know the cut was bothering him. I'm not disagreeing or agreeing whether it should have been stopped or not. That's not my expertise, but I think she erred on the side of caution, unfortunately for him. But I think he was on his way to picking up some steam, though. That's the way it had looked. So it's one of those fights where it's just unfortunate because there's a lot, I think, that was left on the table with that fight. I think that's what I was trying to say. I mean, he still has the dog in him. You could see he still wants to fight. You know, and the other guys.
Well,
I'm sorry, Kenny.
I was going to say, and saying that, you know, you saw 3 Buckleys out there isn't going to help the argument necessarily.
Yeah, right.
Oh yeah,
right.
Even though I was seeing 3 Buckleys out there, they really should have, you know, let me fight. But anyways, you know, that's unfortunate all the way around. But Ray, so where do you put Colby Covington right now as far as, you know, how he's seeing his mixed martial arts career? Because you get a guy who's as tough as hell. He did not want to quit. That is clear.
Right. Yeah. He was.
But then he says that he kind of had a half-assed training camp. So if you see a guy that is not quitting inside the cage, but he's only putting in half-assed training camps, is he on the way out, Ray? Like, well, how do you see that?
He's look, I would think that man, I don't even know. These guys get crazy as they get older, you know what I mean? And they like the half training camps, that shit drives me crazy. But he looks like he's gonna be up for a cash grab wherever he could get it. He seems like that guy. He brings the whole shtick with him that nobody cares about. I don't know. Yeah, he's probably he's getting up there. He wants to, you know, it's almost like you know, the guys with the pensions, they work like the last 2 or 3 years, they put in like 500 hours a week so they could build up that pension. That's similar to the same thing. These guys built their name up. He was an interim champ, and I think he wants to cash out any way he can. That's the way I look at it.
So you think he's fighting for a payday only these days?
Well, I'll tell you what. I think he's fighting for a payday. I don't know about only because he did show he wasn't quitting. I think a guy that was fighting for the paydays would have found a way out with that eye as soon as possible.
Right.
And he 100% didn't do that. So I don't want to say he's fighting for the paydays. I just say that's where I think if he had a half-ass training camp, he feels he's tough enough to go in and compete with these guys and pick up a paycheck, which I'm sure was a good paycheck. So,
well, I think part of what he's saying is that he didn't have an 8-week training camp because this fight came together on short notice,
got you. Okay,
right?
so then
But I do think he's being selective and prize fighting at this stage of his career, right? He's not like Joaquin Buckley, who is ready to fight any of these killers on 3 or 4 weeks' notice, right?
Yes. Yeah, however you want to phrase that, I think that was perfect. That's what I'm trying to say. So he should be looking for the money fights, honestly, at this point in his career. He's doing I think he's doing the right thing. And like again, if he would have found a way out in that fight, I would have said, no, he's fighting for the money. But he really did.
Right.
So I can't, it's hard to make that argument.
Yeah.
But why he would jump in at a last minute thing like that, I guess they probably offered him more money. I mean, he did headline the card, so it was a big to do, and he is from Florida, so I think that
what's his show money as a former interim champion who does move needles, right? And I know, Ray, you said his shtick that nobody cares about, right? And that is true in some part, I guess, right?
Yeah.
But Kenny, when we were sort of talking privately and Bilal Muhammad wasn't able to fight and Ian Machado Gary versus Shavkat Rakhmonov came together and Covington was fighting Joaquin Buckley. Kenny, for you as an MMA fan and me, it's like, holy shit, dude, Covington's fucking hadn't fought in a year. He's fucking fighting Joaquin Buckley in Tampa, right? It's feels like a big deal. So he moves some sort of needle for me as an MMA fan, even if at one point in time he came at my kids,
Oh shit, I forgot about that.
But you know what I'm saying, right? Like, Kenny, like, to what extent do you care about Covington? Because it seems like you and I care more about him than most of these sort of run-of-the-mill welterweights, for lack of a better way to put it.
Yeah, well, I think either way, he's created this character, and people want to see him lose, right? And if that's the case, then people still want to see you fight. And I think for a lot of people, that is the case, whether they want to see him win or lose. But obviously he's been a heel in the UFC for a while. He has played up that shtick well. And, I think I don't know how many more fights he has left in him, but one good sign is the fact that this guy is not going to quit inside that octagon. And I think when you see that, then you kind of know, okay, it is absolutely finished for him.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, Ray, it sounds to me like if I asked you who is more likely to be a UFC champion, Joaquin Buckley or Manel Kape, you would say Manel Kape, and some of that would have to do with maybe divisional depth, right? But when I ask you about Joaquin Buckley, you don't sound super enthused necessarily. You were impressed, but you don't sound particularly enthused about him as welterweight contender. You're right to point out maybe some of the grappling shortcomings. I'm just saying we segue pretty quickly towards the cut. So it doesn't seem like you're over the moon about Joaquin Buckley.
No, not over the moon, but a guy that could make some adjustments with the right training and be right where that's why I say he's right where he wants to be. And if they could fix some of the, and I don't know, it just happened to look like that. So, I'd have to really look at the fight again, but he wasn't overwhelming in that fight. You know what I mean? And it looked like, and I thought, I don't even know, because I tell you, that was I wasn't really concentrating on the fight, but it looked like Covington was on his way to maybe breaking him, and we never seen him in rounds 4 and 5. And Covington, is always going to have a good gas tank. So I think it was unfortunate with the cut because I think it played a big factor. And like Kenny brings out a good point, like they wouldn't have stopped it in Vegas, but yet he was seeing 3 of Buckley. So I'm sure that makes the doctors in Vegas feel really good.
No, and I didn't know that Dana or somebody had suggested that maybe the Nevada State Athletic Commission wouldn't have stopped that fight. I mean, I'm not going to book an optometrist or a plastic surgeon, but I think Colby should be thankful his eyelid was preserved.
Well, that's the key. But it did. Like when we just looked at the picture, it didn't look like it was that bad, but it was bleeding into his eye, which that's part of the reasons why they stop it, because you can't see, and it's you're at an unfair advantage. But look, even the whole eye poke thing, if you think about Kenny, just tell me if you agree with me on this. So I think it was Vellante got poked in the eye in Jersey, and the ref came over and said, "Can you see?" Said no, and they just stopped the fight. So their way of handling this problem, I think we discussed this before, they all went back. All the mighty heads went back, and they came up with, what the solution was? Don't ask him if he could see. No, seriously, don't ask him if he could see. And then we don't have to stop the fight. I mean, but logically, can we just say this? A guy got poked in the eye. Can the doctor go in and go, "Can you see?" And he goes, "No." And she goes, "I'm going to give you like 3 minutes and then I'll come back." If you can't see after 3 or 4 minutes, then I could see your stuff. You just got poked in the eye. How could you see? I swear to God, I don't get it. I really don't get it. It's like when I'm
don't ask a question if you don't want to hear the answer.
Right. But I mean, you could ask and say, "Okay, you can't see. The rule, let's give you a couple of minutes and then we'll figure it out." Like if you can't see going into the fight, obviously you're out of the fight. But you just got poked in the eye.
Yeah.
Well, it's a much better process.
What about you get kicked in the balls? Do your balls hurt? They're killing me. The fight's over. So they let your balls cool down a little bit. Let you get your breathing going, you know what I mean? Like
they let your balls cool down.
Get your Adam's apple out of your throat, you know what I mean? Then go ahead, fight again. I don't know. It's just all of this shit is crazy, man, to me. But I don't know. That eye thing just brought me onto that with the eye poke. I don't know.
It seems like a better process now, though, Ray, at least where the doctor can come in. You can actually get whatever's in your eye cleaned out. You have more of a time to recover. But the earlier stuff was just so silly. Yeah.
100%.
All right. Ray Longo Minute here. Great to have everybody with us live on the Anik and Florian podcast. So I brought up Manel Kape, okay? And if you don't know, Pumi Nakuda is a flyweight who trains under Ray Longo. He is, in my mind, the best flyweight outside of the UFC looking in right now. I have no idea why he is not on the roster. I have a little bit of an idea, but I really don't know. So I have promoted the fuck out of Pumi Nakuda. So maybe I can say with a little comedic undertone, Ray, there's no way he's beating Manel Kape last Saturday night. How good is this fucking Manel Kape, huh? My God.
Hey, Pumi could beat anybody, but
no, I know.
And if you have a little idea of why he's not in, I'd love to hear it, because I have absolutely no fucking idea why he's not in. We'll even
talk later.
A little. Yeah, 100%. I'd love to know. But Kape, I tell you what, between his microphone skills and the way he fights, why they wouldn't give him the Pantoja fight is beyond me. I think he deserves the fight just for entertainment value. Well, even if I mean, the guy's good. I think he fought a great fight. He got rid of the guy. And I think he deserves, in that division, he deserves a shot because they're bringing in guys from Japan to fight Pantoja. You got a couple of guys right here I think would make for a good fight. And I think Kape is one of those guys. I'd throw him into a title fight immediately.
For me, there's moments. I'm not saying he is all the time, but there's moments where I see him fight where he looks like a top 3 striker, Ray. Just the things that he can do. Where do you place him in that conversation? Is he a top 5, top 10 striker in the UFC, you think?
In the UFC?
Kenny's talking top
UFC?
3 striker across all divisions.
Across all divisions.
Male, female, black, white.
I got excited watching that. Yeah.
I don't know about he's good. I don't know about I'd have to go through everybody, but top 3, I'll give him top 10 for sure.
The thing about though, you're talking 650, 700 fighters. You're saying he's one of the top 10 best strikers and knows his way around the other realms of mixed martial arts as well. I just think it's interesting, Ray. I'm with you. Like I'm sitting this dude down, even if Kai Kara-France is going to be next. Like if I'm Kai watching all of this unfold, I'm thinking, man, this is kind of worst case scenario in some respects, even though I have connective tissue with Manel Kape. Like I'm thinking, man, and then he starts talking to Dana for a while. And I'm thinking, oh my gosh, is Manel Kape going to leapfrog me? Even though he just lost to Mohammed Mokaev a few months ago, it's crazy. Sports nuts.
I just think with him, you got the complete package, the way he enters the octagon, the way he enters even a normal fight night, his personality, he's pretty funny. I find the guy hysterical.
This stuff during the fight was hilarious, man.
Oh, no, he's, I think I don't know. I think he's going to draw attention to that division.
Yeah.
So I don't know, but he's a great fight for Manuel. And again, he never disappoints on the microphone. Even if he says he's not going to curse this time, he's funny, man. And then he goes, I find the guy funny. I really do. I think he deserves a shot too in that division. Because I mean, if you're reaching for a guy from Japan, come on, just give somebody a shot. Even Kara-France, him, anybody.
So in terms of reaching for a guy from Japan, I don't think your phraseology is wrong, but based upon what Kenny and I saw from Kai Asakura, we feel like he's going to beat a lot of these guys in the top 10, Oh,
no, I'm saying, no, that guy's really good. I'm just saying you had to pull him from another organization.
Right.
You have, like you just said, you have 600 people on the roster.
Oh,
so there's nobody you feel like could have fought for the title. You had to go out and grab somebody. Instead of, bringing the guy into the UFC and letting him fight a top 3 guy and then giving him a title shot. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it did work out, right? Because I think you were able to promote Kai as well. And now when you move him forward against the Brandon Morenos of the world, I think it gives some sort of resuscitation to this division, but you're absolutely right. And we'll see.
Yeah, this division is, I mean, they got rid of that kid off a win. But that could have been, personality-wise, and he was causing trouble. I don't know. But I don't think it was off his fighting style.
Right, Mokaev.
Mokaev, right. I don't know. It seems to be a division that is walking on eggshells.
Yeah. I actually think I could name a fighter in every division who has had a hair transplant in Turkey at this point in time.
Shit.
If I could go through the roster.
We're right back to this.
Yeah, because I'm sure they want to make that public. So let's go. Air it out.
Yeah. Can we have a top 10 hair transplant list?
So like when Dustin Poirier shaves his head, I'm like, oh, DP, you look like a fucking gangster, right? Like I brought up Pantoja's military haircut in the pay-per-view open with Joe Rogan, right? I draw extra attention to it, right? But when DP shaves his head, most of the fan base is missing the lettuce, right? So when Pantoja shaves his head and he goes military haircut, business approach, Kai Asakura, we're going to take you back, fucking choke you unconscious, right? Let's just hope he's not shaving a head to go to Turkey after the win. Because it seems like everybody who shaves their head nowadays is not doing it for any other reason except that they're going to Turkey.
Holy shit. I might shave my head tomorrow.
All right. So Dustin Jacoby plus 700 to beat Vitor Petrino by knockout. Now, Jacoby had lost 4 of 5, potentially fighting for his job. There were a lot of reasons to maybe feel like you might get a really focused, patient, desperate performance out of Dustin Jacoby, which you did. But my gosh, does this not speak to, Kenny, how tough this sport is, right? Like Vitor Petrino looks like he would just melt most men in most any division. And now he's lost 2 in a row, and he's got to be back in Brazil thinking like, what am I doing wrong? Because he works hard. He has good coaches, and another tough result for Vitor Petrino here, courtesy of Dustin the Hanyak Jacoby.
Yeah, MMA is kind of hard, man. It's kind of hard. I would say this. I think for Petrino, I was curious to see how he was going to come back after that loss against Anthony Smith. I think he was aggressive at times. He was certainly the guy moving forward more than Jacoby, but I do think he was still a little hesitant at times. I think maybe either he felt the power or just didn't want to get stopped again. But Jacoby, I thought was patient enough. And then once he found his moment and got Petrino a little bit tired, and once Petrino lost a little bit of confidence, that's when Jacoby really pounced on him and took advantage of him. But in Petrino, I see a guy who's a little nervous, maybe overly emotional, a little spazzy out there. And I don't know, like it's, he drops his hands a little bit, and maybe just feels like he can bully most guys, but Jacoby is not most guys.
That's where I was going. I think he relies on his physicality because he's huge, and I think that's what gets him in trouble. In his head, I think he believes he's kind of invincible because of his size, and then it's too late.
It's a blessing and a curse having that kind of physicality. You rely on it for so long, and you think that's going to be the thing. But this also is a sport with a ton of skill and technique and experience.
And he probably was winning that fight up until the time he got caught too. So in his head, everything's going good, even though Jacoby was laying back and being patient and kind of helping that narrative along. Yeah. And then he got caught,
Yeah, I do think, Kenny, you're onto something in terms of Petrino's nerves, and just needs to, I think, believe in himself a little bit more than he does at times. Ray, one other thing I wanted to talk to you about, and certainly some connection between Billy Quarantello and your team and Matt Frivola and everything else. And hard to see Billy Q on the wrong side of that result, even though we all feel great for Killer Cub Swanson. Get out your knife and bear emojis, ladies and gentlemen. But what was your thought on Billy Q and just this overall sort of blood and guts warrior style, right? Like Joshua Van is a flyweight who cares really only about entertaining the fans, and that's how he's going to make his money. Even if Joshua Van might have the potential to be a UFC champion, he's not going to wrestle or grapple. I'm just telling you, So I don't know, man. I just feel like Billy Q, this was a winnable fight, and ends up getting knocked out cold.
Yeah. Billy's style of fighting obviously isn't for longevity. You know what I mean? I think he has to take a bunch of punches to get what he wants. Look, it looked like he was going to break Cub Swanson down to me. And I think, and wait, first off, hats off to Cub Swanson at 41. My God. Being able to pot shot from the outside like that was phenomenal. But you could see he doesn't want to get into like a slugfest for a duration of time. He wants to pot shot you and try to stay on the outside, which he did beautifully, really did. I mean, that was experience, some old school tricks. And then when he had the opportunity, man, he sat down on that hook cross just about as good as anybody, no matter what age they are. So hats off to him. And Billy, I thought it was gonna be that type of fight where he was aggressive. You burn out by hitting him, which like again for Billy, I think that's his style. That's where he's gonna live and die in that style. And now it's starting to get to the point where it's not really working out for him. But I still thought that was a winnable fight, and I thought he was going to win that fight right up until that point. So hats off to Cub, and I hope Billy's all right. He's just an exceptionally great kid. And, what he's done, with what he's had, his gifts, I think is phenomenal right now. So he's got nothing to, be ashamed of or any of that shit. He's had he's had a good run. So we'll see where he goes. But that was a winnable fight, and he didn't get the job done. And hats off to Cub Swanson, because I was blown away by his ability to be like a sniper in that fight. And then when he had to throw a little bit, he could even do that, but he wasn't going to do that for an extended period of time. So so I don't know. I think Billy's got to go back to the drawing board and
Yeah.
He's got good jujitsu. Maybe start taking a different approach. But guys like Billy, they're just warriors, man.
My
It's just
gosh.
it's in his blood, and I don't know if there's any change in him.
Yeah. I appreciate your thoughtful analysis on that. And then one more note, guys. I don't know if you have anything on Michael Johnson, but he gets a performance of the night bonus. And just sort of a guy, Kenny, whose career, I know you guys in some part are from the same era, or at least crossing over there at the tail end of your career at 155 pounds. Uneven UFC career for him, some shining moments. A main event knockout of Dustin Poirier in Hidalgo, Texas in 2016 comes to mind, but it's had a lot of bad luck. So I just felt really good for Michael Johnson getting that type of knockout over the weekend. He's a really good athlete. And, when he finds that knockout stroke, man, it's usually pretty crowd pleasing.
He still got it, man. He still has the power, still has the speed. It was great to see him get a win at this point in his career. And physically, he looked like he was in great shape, looked like he put on a little muscle as well. So I think he's really focused on improving as a fighter. And I think that's been the case for a little bit. And during that process, mixed martial arts, you certainly have that chaos and volatility. But now I think maybe he's kind of gotten more comfortable or gotten better as a fighter, where he can kind of unleash those skills a little bit more. And hopefully we'll see more wins from him. But he seems really dedicated, and hope to see some more consistency from him. But great win there.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally.
Right,
Great win. And plus, he's had his ups and downs. I think he was even complaining about like he had no money a couple of months ago. So I'm glad he got the bonus. But
yeah,
here's a guy, like again, you say he knocked out Dustin. I mean, I thought he was the first guy to connect with Khabib, kind of maybe rattled him a little bit. So I mean, think of the moments this guy's had, and the people that he's fought and how long he's been around. I just hope it ends up really well for him, because I'm happy for the guy. And I mean, he's been fighting his balls off for so many years. I think he should have a little nest egg somewhere.
Well, no, and I know what you were getting at, right? It's tough. I think teaching is the profession that has failed the most to sort of adjust with the times and inflation, right? Teaching is such an amazing, necessary profession, and yet it would be one that I would probably discourage my daughters from going into, because they still don't pay teachers. And you'd love for Michael Johnson at this stage of his career to be making some sort of robust show money, but he's never had the type of winning streak that I guess has resulted in that big contract,
Yep, that's the problem. And tell your daughter, come to New York, because the teachers don't pay bad over here. They're doing
that's really the one state. You're right.
They're doing pretty damn well.
Yes, no, you're right. All right. Before we play a quick game of Would You Rather with you two gentlemen on the way out, Ray, one hard-hitting question on Chris Weidman, and a few of our listeners and viewers have wanted to know the answer to this. And I'm not trying to put you on the spot, but the question essentially is, what do you do as a coach when maybe you're walking around, even at the grocery store, and someone says, "Hey, coach, man, time to tell Chris Weidman to retire, dude. You got to tell him to hang him up." What do you do in that situation? Oh, shit. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Sorry. What do you do in that situation as a coach? And do you feel any pressure when people say, dude, he's lost a step, he's not as quick offensively or defensively? How do you handle that question, and how do you involve yourself or not?
So wait, the question is, I'm at a grocery store and somebody asks me that, somebody tells me that. Well, I take
what do you say to the random person at the grocery store?
Yeah, I take a can of brown beans and I crash it right off his fucking head. That's how that plays out. No, I'm only kidding. Listen, if I was to hit everybody with a can of beans in the head every time they said something negative, man, this sport is bananas, man. Bananas. But all joking aside, look, it's a conversation. I think for the first time, Chris has realized, he's getting up there and the injuries are catching up to him. So I think he's going to make a decision probably in the next couple of months or whatever, and we'll see what happens. But, I'm sure he wants to go out on a win, but he was definitely very unhappy with what happened a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah. All right. Well handled by you. All right. Before we let Ray Longo go, I have a game of Would You Rather. These questions courtesy of Men's Health. Ray, would you rather have to work the most miserable job imaginable for a year, or die 1 year earlier?
I'd probably take the miserable job.
Ken Flo, you've dug a lot of ditches in your day. Would you rather have to work the most miserable job imaginable for a year or die 1 year earlier?
Oh,
Would you
God.
rather be in the copper mines in Arizona with Justin Gaethje's father or die at, 98 instead of 99?
If I have a family and all that stuff, I'm working the crappy job, right? If I'm single, like nothing going on, maybe I check out a year earlier. Who knows?
Ray, would you rather spend a year entirely alone? No human beings whatsoever. I know you're smiling. That sounds glorious.
100%.
Would you rather spend a year entirely alone or a year without a home?
Wait,
Dark on the Anik and Florian podcast.
Yeah, what is this? Like a Rorschach
You want a
test?
positive one?
Wait, hold on a second. So wait, what was it? It was a year alone or a year without a home?
Scintillating radio is repeating the question. Here it is again.
Yeah.
Would you rather spend a year entirely alone? No human beings, no fucking Lucky the dog, entirely by yourself, or a year without a home, homeless,
Nah,
but you could talk to people.
Well, let me be by myself. I'll show you the text message my wife wrote me this morning. Trust me, I want to be alone. I'll take 3 years alone. How's that?
Do you have that text message for our audience?
Definitely not happening.
Okay. Kenny, would you rather spend
I'll read
a year?
it to you off air if you want.
Okay, that's great.
I'm with Ray.
Yeah, we got
I'm
to
with
talk
Ray on
about.
that.
Okay, you guys are aligned there. All right.
Yeah.
Ray, would you rather never eat your favorite food for the rest of your life or only eat your favorite food?
What the hell what is that?
Would you can go
I see what
anytime.
you're
It's
saying.
been a half hour.
Yeah, right. No, I'll take my favorite food for the rest of my life. I've been doing that for the last 10 years anyway. So
Is there more fun for you on the other side of this show? It seems like it. Kenny, I think Kenny, would you rather never eat your favorite food for the rest of your life or only eat your favorite food?
I would probably only eat my favorite food. Yeah.
Look at you.
Yeah.
All right. A few more here. Ray, would you
few
rather never have to wait in line or always have a parking spot?
No, I don't want to wait in line. I'll take the. Wait, what was that? No, wait, hold on a second. I never want to wait in line, so I'm taking the other one.
You don't strike me as a guy who waits in line a lot. You seem to be a VIP type guy. No?
Oh, yeah. If I'm not walking right in, I'm walking right the fuck out.
Look at that.
It's online.
At this stage.
Great line.
At this stage of the game.
We are going to have Joe Romero design a T-shirt with your face and a quote bubble that says, "I'm either walking right in or I'm walking right out." Right, Kenny? That's a dime of a quote there from Longo. That slaps.
I want
that
that
slaps.
Yeah.
Kenny,
Yes, sir.
would you rather never have to wait in line or always have a parking spot?
That's kind of one of my superpowers. I always kind of find a parking spot. I would say I hate waiting though, dude. I hate waiting. I don't want to wait in line. That's my.
It's brutal.
Ray, do you have to leave?
No.
All right. Would you rather only be able to whisper or only be able to shout? Can you imagine if I could only shout? I can only fucking shout. I'm in my twin brother's house right now. Hi, girls. Sorry. I can only fucking shout.
I'll take the whispering.
I'd like to place an order to go. I'd like a large onion pizza, thin crust, extra crispy. I'd like a side of onion rings, well done, and a large Coke.
At a certain point, when you get older, that's kind of what you're gonna do. I would prefer the whispering as well. I'm probably too loud. So
yeah, my vocal cords would go out immediately.
Yeah.
My pool of haters just got deeper. I would rather be able to whisper every day of the week. That shouting would be the most obnoxious thing.
Yeah.
All right. Would you rather always, Ray, would you rather always have wet socks or a small rock in your shoe?
I'll take wet socks.
Ken Flo, what do you have for us?
I haven't worn socks in about 3 years either.
Oh gosh, Yeah, they're both terrible, but I that rock in your shoe, that's got to be annoying. That's got to be more annoying. Yeah, I'll go with the wet sock.
Ray, would you rather never age physically or never age mentally?
Ooh, oh, that's a tough one.
I would rather never age physically. I'm vain.
I'm gonna go with that.
Okay.
Yeah,
Ken
I'm gonna
Flo?
go with that.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd definitely like to have the ability to move normally again. That'd be nice.
Right.
That'd be nice because I'm feeling that. Yeah.
All right, 3 more.
3 more, and then I'm out.
Would you rather win $50,000 or let your best friend win $500,000?
I think I'd rather win the 50,000. I mean, are you implying that my best friend's going to give me more than 50,000 if he wins the 500? I'll take the cash money, 50 grand. I'm taking.
Ken Flo, 50 grand for you or 500 grand to your best friend?
I'm taking 50 grand. I'm buying Bitcoin with it. That's what I'm doing.
Yeah, baby.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, you're in a good spot now, man. Woo.
Ray, would you rather save the lives of your 3 closest family members or 1,000 people you don't know?
What the hell kind of question is that? What is this guy?
Oh
What did this guy do this
Oh my
week? Did he
God.
lose? No,
Oh
seriously.
my God.
Did you take like peyote like
I
last night? Come
know.
up with these fucking questions.
Okay.
Everybody would want to save 1,000 people instead of their family. No, what's the matter with you? No, I'm saving my family.
Oh my God.
Saving my
Kenny?
family.
Kenny, I would imagine you're saving your wife and 2 kids or 1,000 randoms.
Yeah, my family. So,
All right. And before we let
Sorry,
you go,
guys.
Ray, would you rather have a permanent unibrow or no eyebrows at all? And then you can go on with the rest of your Monday.
Oh my gosh. This is amazing.
I'm going with no eyebrows at all.
All right. At Ray Longo MMA. Enjoy the rest
Well,
of your day.
this has been so much fun. Oh, can we do this
I'm
every
so
week?
glad. Yeah, we're gonna do. You know what next
yeah.
week is?
What's
I'm not
next
even.
week?
No, I'm not even going to tell you. But it'll be more creative, fun for you. And
Wow, should we come in with our Christmas hats on?
yeah, we can do that. And just know that anybody who's shopping for Ray Longo for Christmas, don't buy him socks because he works out without them.
No socks. But
And there's your Ray Longo Minute mug.
Look
Yes,
at
Ray
this
gets a
mug.
cut of the proceeds. And as you might have gleaned from that game of Would You Rather, none of the proceeds for Ray's merch goes to charity. So
It goes to your charity. What are you talking about?
And the Anik and Florian podcast is not responsible for any holes in anybody's chest either.
Hey guys,
Ray,
take it easy. I'm
get
running
the
out.
fuck out of here. Get out of
Take it
here.
easy.
Ray Longo Minute.
My
Every
man.
week here on the Anik and Florian podcast. Ken Flo, unibrow or no eyebrows at all? For me, I
Oh
wax
my
these pigs
God.
off right away.
If I didn't pluck this, it'd be a unibrow. Let's go no eyebrows. That'd be, yeah.
All right. Few questions with Ken Flo on the way out.
What we got?
3 fighters, Kenny. You fight with one, party with one, commentate with one.
Oh gosh. Let's see. Fight. Let's do Ilia Topuria. He's the best guy out there right now. It probably wouldn't go very well for me right now at the present moment. But hey, I could get a little cash, test myself against the best right now in the game, I think. Party. Let's see. Bryce Mitchell would be fun to party with.
Ooh, that's a great answer.
Yeah, fun conversations, I think. And commentate.
Do
You know what?
recreational drugs with John Jones.
There
I think.
you go. There you go.
Yeah, commentate with one would be the final criteria.
Yeah, commentate with one. You know what's funny? I did shows with Daniel Cormier. I never commentated with Daniel.
Oh
Cormier.
wow.
So that would be fun to commentate with good old DC.
All right, I have some countries, and I'm ripping this straight off from my friends at Odd Shark, but it was a pretty difficult exercise, and I thought it was fun. So I'm going to rip off a country, and you are going to tell me the first mixed martial arts athlete that comes to mind.
Okay.
And I do in the future want to do like a state by state one and drop a Louisiana on you so you can say Dustin Poirier and not Daniel Cormier, right? But I'm going to say a country, and you're going to tell me the MMA fighter that first comes to mind.
All right, let's do this.
Brazil.
Anderson Silva.
So interesting, right? I'm not going to stop after all of these, right? But yes, Jose Aldo is more my era, even though I called fights involving both of those guys. But it is interesting how the King of Rio was the first name on the tip of my tongue. And I do think that Jose now has transcended a few different eras by retiring, entering the Hall of Fame, coming back out. But yes, I believe most people, when probed, would say Anderson Silva. Shout out to Vitor Belfort as well. Dirty Vitor, greatest fighter in UFC history. All right. The country that has realized the most success in the UFC, the United States of America.
Oh my gosh. Randy Couture.
Yeah, I was saying Couture or the Iceman, Chuck Liddell.
Yeah.
Tito Ortiz maybe comes to mind for some. John Jones, of course.
Mm-hmm.
Nigeria. Kennedy Nzechukwu, other than him, though. You can't pick Kennedy, other than Kennedy.
I don't know. Who else is from Nigeria?
Izzy and
Oh,
Kamaru.
yeah. Well, yeah.
Well, that was a tough one for me because it came down to Izzy and Kamaru. So they tried to back me into a corner in trying to decide if it was Usman or Izzy.
Okay, so for me, I associate with Kamaru more.
Yeah, right.
Nigeria for whatever reason. I don't know if it's the accent, his accent or whatever, but yeah.
Both born there, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I
know.
think so.
But you might have gone Kennedy and Nzechukwu if you were allowed, but understanding fully that you weren't allowed. Right. Australia.
Is Volk Australian?
Yes, born and raised, baby.
Yeah, Volk. Let's do Volk. Yeah.
Robert Whittaker, also an acceptable answer. Born in Gilmore, New Zealand.
Right.
Japan.
I mean, Kazushi Sakuraba, bro.
China.
Zhang Weili.
Isn't that interesting? Right?
Yeah.
Zhang Weili.
Yeah.
Russia.
Khabib Nurmagomedov. Or Fedor. One of those two. Those are like the first. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Right. The point is you can't pick Fedor and Khabib, but you did a pretty decent job nonetheless. All right. And then the last thing I just want to say, and, you know, some of our fan base doesn't want us to spend any time talking about Conor McGregor, right? But if you would have suggested to me 6 months, 12 months after the leg break that this man would never compete in mixed martial arts again, I would say you're absolutely crazy. I would have scoffed at the notion. I still, to this day, pistol to my temple, would say that he will compete in the UFC, right? But my gosh, man, so much doubt has been cast upon that. And even as we're talking about Colby Covington, you know, I'm thinking, yeah, that fight actually has some merit right now, but to what extent do people really care? So if Conor McGregor had never boxed Floyd Mayweather and that just promotionally wasn't allowed, or he never made that crossover, what do you think his MMA career would look like? And would he have more than the one career win in the UFC at 155 pounds than he does now?
This to me is the most interesting question, right? And we've all heard of the butterfly effect where, you know, one little change can, you know, change everything, right? And I think with something like that, it was both a blessing and a curse. If he did not fight Floyd Mayweather, I think he would have been a little less famous, a little less rich, maybe a lot less rich, who knows? And I think as a result, would be a little less enticed by that money and fame, perhaps, and would have been more consistent with mixed martial arts and would have stayed more focused, perhaps, and healthier, maybe, and with a better record in mixed martial arts, in my opinion. Taking that time off, I think, may have hurt him for his mixed martial arts career. And, you know, I think that it's a fascinating study because Conor has manifested so many great things in his life. And because he has done that, you almost feel like you're superhuman and like you're infallible. But the reality is you are human and you will be enticed by other things. And minding that balance is interesting. And I think that maybe that Floyd Mayweather fight was a bad thing. I don't know. His bank account would argue against that, but I think we would have seen a much more consistent and better mixed martial artist, I would argue, if that fight didn't take place.
There are a lot of fighters for whom you could ask the question, oh, what could have been? And certainly when it comes to Jon Jones, in terms of his bank account, you can say, man, what could have been had there not been some of these side steps? The Nike deal potentially could still be there. This could be a guy whose net worth is $250 million at this point in time. But what could have been when it comes to Conor McGregor's mixed martial arts career? Because he will always be the double champ, the first simultaneous 2-division champion in UFC history, a belt on each shoulder.
Mm-hmm.
But the craziest statistic to me in UFC history is that Conor McGregor, for all of his ability, has one win at 155 pounds, his best weight class, right? One win in the UFC at 155. It was over Eddie Alvarez for the title, did not defend that belt. And a lot of those, Nate Diaz and other fights, Cowboy Cerrone fights, were at 170 pounds. All right, before we go, I just want to let everybody know the 10th annual AFPAs, the Anik and Florian Podcast Awards, will be Monday, December 30th. We might go live. We'll see. A lot of sound elements that make it a little bit, prohibitive to do that live. But here are our categories. You can send your nominations in over the next 2 weeks to @ANIKFLORIANPod. Certainly when it comes to like knockout of the year, we don't need you to say, Max Holloway over Justin Gaethje at UFC 300. But if you have a knockout that maybe we are forgetting, by all means, put it on the radar. So we have UFC Rookie of the Year. We have Breakout Star of the Year. We have our Robert Follis Memorial Coach / Cornerman of the Year. Upset of the Year. Anthony Rumble Johnson Memorial Knockout of the Year. Submission of the Year. The Stephan Bonner American Psycho Memorial Fight of the Year. Female Fighter of the Year. The Adam Snacks Geller Memorial Male Fighter of the Year. And Personality of the Year. Best of luck taking Poeton's trophy for 2024. Personality of the Year. So those are the categories at Anik Florian Pod. If you would like to send in your nominations, that would be appreciated. All right, don't forget jonanik.com for all of your holiday merchandise needs. I do believe if you order here in the not too distant future, it will be here by Christmas. Promo code is 2025. Thanks to our producer, Cody Merrow. Thanks to the great Ray Longo. And of course, the man around whom this show is built, the great Kenny Florian. For Ken Flom, Jon Anik, thank you all for watching, for listening. Tell your friends, happy holidays. We will talk to you next Monday. Until then, yo fucking later.